My name is Diane, and at 44 years old, my parents and brother refused to take my 15-year-old daughter to there after she broke her leg. We don't have time, they told her. Then they made her walk for 3 hours. I didn't scream. Instead, I did something else. 4 days later, they were the ones yelling in panic. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. It was a Tuesday. Just another mind-numbing paper-stack Tuesday. I sat at my desk, my eyes burning from staring at documents too long, gnawing on a pen that had already run out of ink. The air in my office was thick with the scent of stale coffee and filtered ventilation, the kind of smell that clings to your clothes and seeps into your bones. Then I saw it. Sophie lighting up my phone on FaceTime. I smiled instinctively. Probably a vacation update. Maybe she'd show me a bracelet she bargained for. Or a weird snack with a name I'd butchered trying to say. The whole trip had been her idea to join my parents, my brother Mark, and her cousins on a sightseeing break out of state. It lined up perfectly with her spring break. I couldn't go. Neither could my husband. Work for both of us. And I don't fly all. Haven't in over 10 years. Not just a preference, a full-on phobia. Sweaty hands, heart racing, panic attack near the boarding gate. Even the scent of jet fuel triggers my throat to close. So, we drive, we take trains, we stay grounded. That's how I stay functional. The point is, I wasn't bracing for trauma. I was expecting a selfie at a street market. So, I answered. No smile, no nice. Just Sophie sitting rigid on the edge of a hotel bed. I'm tired, she said softly. Hey, Mom, she added. Can I tell you something? But promise not to freak out. Spoiler, I absolutely freaked out. Not on the outside, no raised voice. But inside, full-blown internal meltdown. What's going on? I asked, already getting to my feet. She turned the camera. Her leg was resting on a hotel pillow, swollen, red, and purple. The skin stretched taut along her ankle and shin, not just bruised, ballooned. It looked wrong. I think I broke it, she said. My mind blanked for a moment. What do you mean you think you broke it? I fell yesterday, she replied, on the stairs at that old palace place. Yesterday, I sank slowly into my chair like gravity had doubled. Okay, who's looked at it? Grandma, Grandpa, and Uncle Mark, she said. They didn't think it looked that bad. It wasn't really swollen at first. They figured it was just bruising. I blinked, confused. So, they didn't take you anywhere? She shook her head. No, we kept going. I just walked through it. I shut my eyes. How long did you walk? 3 hours. Maybe more. 3 hours. She nodded. They told me I was overreacting, she said. Classic family line. They said I'd feel better once the tour was over, she added. Her tone so casual it made me feel sick. And now it hurts a lot more. Where are they now? She hesitated. Out. They said I could stay at the hotel and rest. I froze. You're by yourself. She nodded again, in another state. Mom? I stared at the screen. Hey, don't move. I'm coming to get you. You don't have to. I do. But you'd have to fly. I'm aware. She blinked. You haven't flown since. I know. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I'm already checking flights, I said. This time, she didn't argue. Her voice grew quiet. Okay? I hung up, opened my laptop, and searched one flight. One seat leaves in 90 minutes. No time for fear. No time for logic. No time for anything. I booked it. Then I called my parents. Voicemail, tried again. Still voicemail. Called Mark. He answered, chipper. Hey, how's it going? You left Sophie alone in a hotel with a possibly broken leg. He paused. She said she was fine. She can't walk. She's always been a little sensitive. Sensitive? Come on. It's probably just a sprain. The swelling didn't even start until last night. You made her walk for 3 hours. We didn't make her. She's 15. Mark, she told you it hurt and you left her alone. She said she wanted to rest because she couldn't move. He sighed, you're blowing this out of proportion. There was again from always me. always her. I hung up without another word. Then I grabbed my bag, shut my laptop, and bolted down the hall. My boss looked up as I burst into his office. Family emergency, I said. I have to go. What kind of emergency? The kind where I live right now. He frowned. You were just assigned. I know, I'm sorry. He started to argue. I didn't wait to hear it. I walked out. In the elevator, I booked a cab. In the cab, I texted Sophie. I'm coming. Don't take anything. Stay in bed. She replied with a single heart emoji. I stared at that tiny red heart the whole ride to the airport. And then I ran through check-in, through security, sweaty, disoriented, fighting the irrational itch to turn back. But I didn't. I ran like someone being chased. Maybe I was by the ghost of every time I'd been told I was too sensitive, too much, too scared. I made it to the gate with minutes to spare. No checked bags, no clean shirt, just me, my fear, and the fact that I wasn't going to let my daughter be dismissed 1 second longer. I hate flying. I really, really hate it. But I hate what they did to her more. So I boarded the plane. And I didn't shout. Not yet. But 4 days later, they were the ones screaming. The woman next to me was asleep with her forehead against the window and a bag of pretzels resting on her chest. I envied her. I hadn't unclenched my jaw since takeoff. My palms were damp. My knees locked. Every small bump made my stomach flip. But I didn't breathe a word. I stared straight ahead like I was being tested. As I was, not by the turbulence, not by the plane, by me, by every voice in my head telling me this was an overreaction, that I was being dramatic. That voice sounds a lot like my mother's. I hadn't flown in over 10 years. Not because I didn't want to, as I couldn't. The moment my foot touches an airport floor, my chest tightens. My brain loops through every awful flight I ever had like a highlight reel of shame, especially that one when I was 10, sobbing from turbulence, gripping the tray table like it could save me. Mark filmed it on his dad's camcorder. Years later, he added sound effects, played it at Thanksgiving. Everyone laughed. I was still a child. I remember my mother's voice. You really need to grow out of this. I never did. I just stopped putting myself in situations where people could see me panic. You'll know Mark is 3 years older than me. The golden child, athletic, loud, always the star of every backyard barbecue. He had the kind of energy that filled a room and never once questioned whether it should. I, on the other hand, was allergic to half the backyard. Cats, pollen, grass, loud noises gave me headaches. Heights made me dizzy. My knees hurt after too much walking, and I once fainted during a hike from heat exhaustion. My mom gave me half a bottle of water and told me to toughen up. Everything I did was seen as a ply for attention, a scheme, a performance. No matter what I said or how calmly I said it, I was always being too sensitive. If I cried, it was fake. If I got scared, it was embarrassing. If I asked to stay behind, I was being selfish. They called me a drama queen before I even hit double digits. Mark, meanwhile, could sprain a pinky and be carried home like a war hero. The rules were different for him, still are. I didn't talk much growing up. I didn't see the point. I just watched. I learned the patterns. I stopped reacting. And then I got out, studied law, became a criminal investigator. People were surprised. Isn't that kind of intense for someone like you? Meaning, aren't you too delicate, too reactive? No, I'm not delicate. I just know what it feels like to be disbelieved. I built a career around evidence, ran logic, ran truth that doesn't require permission to exist. I thought maybe that would be enough for my parents to start seeing me differently, as capable, strong, someone they could respect. It wasn't. Even now, they still treat me like I'm seconds away from melting down in the canned goods aisle. And then Sophie was born. She was perfect, small and quiet and thoughtful, with this little furrow in her brow, like she'd already figured out the world was a mess and was trying to fix it with kindness. She was like me from day one. I swore I'd protect her, and I did. When my dad joked, "Here comes Drama Queen 2.0, I shut it down. When Mark's daughter, Haley, got praised for being feisty, and Sophie got told she was too emotional, I said no. Not on my watch, at least not while I was in the room. But that's the thing about kids. They notice the silences more than the noise. They feel what isn't said, and they internalize it just like I did. So when Sophie asked to go on this trip with my parents, Mark, Haley, and Ben, I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to go, but because I couldn't. Flying makes me sick. Not just in my body, but in my mind. I've tried therapy, exposure sessions, even prescribed meds. It doesn't work. And Sophie knows that. It's one of those unspoken truths in our home. Mom doesn't fly. She begged me. She really wanted to take the trip. She said it would be a great chance to bond with her cousins and promised she'd call every night. My mom assured me, "Don't worry, we'll take good care of her." Mark chimed in, "We'll keep an eye on her." Haley was excited. Then came the ask. Could I help cover Haley and Ben's extra plane tickets since they'd be helping out with Sophie? It was framed like they were doing me a favor, like I should feel lucky. I sent the money, packed Sophie's suitcase myself, included her allergy meds, a backup charger, Band-Aids, snacks, kissed her goodbye in the driveway, waved with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. I had a feeling, but I brushed it aside because part of me wanted to believe they'd changed, that they'd matured, that they'd see Sophie for who she truly is, not as some reflection of the daughter they never understood. The plane gave a slight jolt. The woman next to me snored right through it. I clenched the armrest tighter. I couldn't stop picturing Sophie on that hotel bed trying not to cry, saying her leg hurts more now, saying she fell yesterday, that they made her walk 3 more hours, that they told her she was fine, that she didn't want to ruin the trip. That line destroyed me. I didn't want to ruin the trip. She got that from me, not because I ever said it aloud, but because I lived it. I spent my whole childhood pretending everything was fine, just to keep the peace with people who never truly care either way. I broke the cycle in every way I knew how, except for the most important one. I let her go with them. I trusted them to care. They didn't. The seatbelt light dinged. We were beginning to descend. My stomach twisted. I leaned back and tried to breathe. Not fully, not calmly, just enough. They think I'm overreacting, that I'm going to rev and make a big scene. They're wrong. This isn't a scene. It's a boundary. I didn't stay grounded for a decade because I was afraid of flying. I stayed grounded because I couldn't bear what flying revealed in them. But for Sophie, I'd fly straight through hell if I had to. By the time I reached the hotel, I'd nearly forgotten how to breathe at all. I didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe something sad. Maybe even my parents asking for forgiveness. What I didn't expect was for Sophie to open the door herself. She looked pale, still in pajamas, hair tangled to one side like it hadn't been brushed since yesterday. But she was upright, sort of leaning into the door frame as if it was helping to hold her up. "You actually came," she said softly. That shattered me. Not thank you, not help me, not even finally, just surprise. Like she hadn't believed I really would come. Like I make promises I don't follow through on. I gently wrapped my arms around her and whispered, "Of course I came. You're the only reason on this planet I'd get on a plane." Then added, "Please don't ever make me do it again." She laughed a little then. Winston pulled away. "Okay," I said. "Time to get that leg looked at before it starts glowing or talking to us." It took us 15 minutes to get her shoes on. Half of that was arguing about whether she needed both. She did not. One stayed off. Her foot looked like it had swallowed a baseball. While I was tying the laces, I asked without thinking, "So, how did it happen exactly?" "Stairs, right?" I expected a sheepish, "I tripped," or something about slippery shoes. Instead, she went quiet. "It wasn't really a fool," she said. "Ben pushed me as a joke." I looked up slowly. He didn't mean to. I was taking a picture, and he shoved me like he does all the time. But I missed a step, and then I was on the ground. They saw it, all of them. My heart sank. They saw it. She nodded. Grandma said I was being dramatic. Mark told me to stop crying because I was scaring the tourists. Grandpa asked if I twisted it before the trip. And you didn't tell me that on the call. She hesitated because I thought it would go away and because I didn't want to make a thing out of it. I didn't want to get Ben in trouble. I stood up. Sophie, someone pushes you down a flight of stairs and your leg swells like that. You don't protect them, not even if they're family, especially if they're family. She looked away, and when the hospital staff asked what happened, I said, holding her gaze, you tell the truth. The whole thing. No edits. She nodded quietly. Okay, we made it to the air. They took us back fairly quickly, possibly because I told them I thought her leg might be broken. And also possibly because I might have glared at a clipboard like it owed me rent. The nurse asked the usual, pain level, symptoms, allergies. Then came the question, how did it happen? Sophie glanced at me once, then straightened. My cousin pushed me as a joke. I fell down some stairs, she said. She said it like a fact, not a sob story, not a plea, just a fact. The nurse's face didn't move, but her pen started scribbling faster. The x-ray came back 20 minutes later. Tibia fracture, non-displaced, but definitely broken. You're lucky it didn't shift, the doctor said. If she'd walked much more on this. He didn't finish the sentence. I finished it for him silently with a list of what ifs and worst cases and a quiet rage building under my skin like a second pulse. After the doctor left, I turned to Sophie. Tell me everything, I said. The fall timeline. She started talking. She said that after the fall, she begged to go to the hospital. They said there was no time. It was a walking tour day and tickets were non-refundable. They said she could use some ice at the end of the day. They made her walk for 3 hours with that leg. She said that when she asked again the next morning, they told her if she was really in pain, she could rest in the hotel. But they had a winery tour booked and someone had to watch the kids. Then they left, all of them, even Ben, even my parents. Did they say anything else? I asked. They told me I was acting like you. I blinked. Like me. Like you used to be. Drama queen. Afraid of everything. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. That's when I knew this wasn't just neglect. This was history repeating itself. And this time they were trying to erase her voice the way they tried to erase mine. Except I didn't let them. And she wasn't going to let them either. I stepped into the hallway and dialed my parents. My dad answered. Is she okay? He asked. Not because he cared, but because he knew I'd find out everything. She has a fracture, I said. A doctor confirmed it. Pause. Well, it didn't look that bad at the time. Ben pushed her. Another pause. That's not really fair. He was just playing around. You all saw it happen. She tripped. No, you saw him push her and you walked away. He didn't respond. I'm pressing charges, I said. I got a reaction then. Diane, come on. You're going to drag the whole family into court over this? Yes, for a little accident. You're being irrational. No, I'm being a mother. I hung up. Back in the room, Sophie looked at me. Was that Grandpa? Yep. What did he say? I smiled. He said I was being irrational. She blinked. You right. That made her laugh again. Still shaky, still pale, but real. And that's when I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app, and typed, request legal consultation, medical neglect, possible child endangerment, because this wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about setting the record straight, about making sure my daughter knew deep in her bones that no one got to hurt her without consequences. Not even family, especially not family. I didn't sleep much the night after Sophie's x-ray, not because of adrenaline or rage or even relief that she was finally safe, but because my brain wouldn't stop building timelines, flights, court filings, travel logistics, and a tiny voice in my head whispering, do you really want to take your own parents to court? Yes, I did. Not because I wanted revenge. Not even because of what they did to me. This wasn't about the drama queen label or the childhood hiking trips. This was about Sophie, and the way her voice cracked when she said she didn't want to start drama, as if being pushed down a staircase and forced to walk on a broken leg was somehow impolite to mention. Now, we were done letting things slide. The footage came through 3 days later. Tourist stairs, midday sunlight, my daughter standing with a camera, smiling. Then, 12 years old, charges up behind her, playfully shoves her elbow. She flails, slips, crashes forward, out of frame. Then the part that made my stomach turn. A cluster of adults, Mark, Mom, Dad, standing in the background watching it happen. No one runs. No one drops a bag. They all just stand there like it wasn't real. Like she wasn't real. I forwarded the video to my lawyer. She didn't respond with words, just a thumbs up, and we've got them. Filing the case meant going back. It meant court appearances, paperwork, interviews, and yes, flying multiple times. The first return flight I barely remember booking. I just remember Sophie looking at me across the kitchen and saying, "You're flying again." I nodded. Looks like it. Willingly. Well, not willingly. But I'm not frozen anymore either. She blinked. So, like therapy, more like revenge exposure therapy. Apparently, maternal rage is stronger than fear of crushing. When we got home, the screaming started. First Mark in person. "You're really doing this?" He barked, showing up on my porch with that old smugness like he still ran the family. I didn't flinch. "Yes, you're going to destroy us. You know that, right? Should have thought of that before you left a child with a broken leg in a hotel room." Next came my parents. They came together, always a sign they were plotting. Mom tried the guilt route. "We're your parents. Diane, you can't take us to court. What will people say?" Dad tried the strategy. "Drop it now and we can all move on." I looked them both straight in the eye. "You made her walk for 3 hours on a broken leg. You saw her fall and you laughed at her pain. I'm not letting this go." They stormed out, clearly angry. But they weren't finished. The phone calls came next. Aunt Janine, Cousin Rachel, even Uncle Marty, who hadn't reached out since 2006. "Your mom's a mess. Mark could lose his job. Can't you just move on? Don't tear the family apart." So, I told them the truth. All of them. I shared the footage, the x-rays, the so-called drama. By the 4th call, things started to shift. I had no idea. Wait, she was actually hurt. They left her by herself. Eventually, the calls faded away. Court wasn't a spectacle. No dramatic gavel bangs. No courtroom gasps. Just a weary judge. Some attorneys trading documents and court dates. But the verdict was clear. Child endangerment, medical neglect, failure to report injury. All three, my parents and Mark, had charges entered into the official record. There was no jail time, but the fines, they were brutal. The kind that make your throat tighten when you read the number. Then came the part Mark never saw coming. He lost his job. Apparently, schools aren't eager to employ paid teachers with a child endangerment charge. 6 weeks later, they moved to a smaller home in a worse neighborhood. Mom called it temporary, but a cousin told me they were begging for rent money within a month. They never asked me. They didn't need to. They already knew the answer. I had shut off the transfers, closed the side account. No more birthday gifts. No more. "Can you help us with groceries this month?" They were on their own now, and I was done. Sophie got a little quieter after everything was over. Not withdrawn, just more sure of herself. Like she no longer needed to defend how she felt. One night as we folded laundry, she said, "I think I would have just let it go." She paused. "But I'm glad you didn't." I nodded. "You should never have to scream just to be believed." Later that night, right before bed, she showed me a message from Ben. "Hey, I know this is late, but I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have pushed you. Even as a joke, I was trying to be funny. But it was stupid. I feel terrible. I hope your leg's healing okay." She didn't cry, didn't reply, just stared at the screen for a while. "You believe him?" I asked. She gave a small shrug. "Yeah, I think so. I don't think anyone told him to send that." And I believed her. Her leg's fine now, fully healed. No permanent damage. No lingering pain. Just a memory and a quiet line in the sand. She'll never let anyone cross again. I don't speak to my family anymore. I didn't block them, didn't post anything. I just stopped replying, stopped waiting for them to apologize, stopped hoping they'd change. No drama, just silence. And for the first time ever, that silence actually felt like peace. I still hate flying, but I've done it multiple times now. For the case, for work, for a quick getaway with Sophie to celebrate. Every time my palms get sweaty, my stomach turns. But I still go. And every time I land, I think of what Sophie said when I came to get her the first time. You really came and I always will. So, what do you think? Did I go too far or just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.